And welcome back to Straight Talk. As we mentioned in the first half of our show, the race for Oregon governor is heating up, especially the fight for who will land on the Republican ticket and face Tina Kotek in November. Now, Oregon hasn't elected a Republican governor in nearly 4 decades. The last one was Vic Atiyeh, and a new book takes a fresh look at how he led Oregon through a period of major change and what his legacy says about where the state is now. Joining us now to talk about the book, political analyst Jim Moore, author of Atiyeh, Governor Vic Atiyeh, and the Transformation of Oregon. Mr. Moore, thanks for being with us today.
It's great to be with you.
I want to dive in first and ask you, why did you decide to write this book?
Well, I've known Vic for a long time. I knew him in the late 1990s and then, bumped into him. But around 2012, he donated his archive to Pacific University, where I was on the faculty. And so I was deeply involved in that. And so in 2013, he asked me to write the book. So that's why I decided to write, because he asked me.
Wow.
It's like an incredible honor.
Absolutely.
And then he didn't pay me. I wasn't working for him. Our first meeting, he said, look, I'm depending on you, because he'd seen me over the years doing this kind of stuff. And so he said, I trust you to do warts and all what's going on and what his governorship is about.
So let's talk about the transformation of Oregon, of course, in the title. What is this transformation that you're referring to?
So very simple. Before Vic Atiyeh, Oregon's economy was a timber economy. When you looked at the big manufacturing clusters, when you looked at what Oregon produced, its place in the world, it was based on timber, and then some wheat from Eastern Oregon. The timber industry was going into a decline in late 70s, just as he was being elected governor. And then we had a huge recession in 1979-ish, 1980 to about 1983, the worst recession we've had. So he said, we gotta put the economy back together. The transformation was, let's find other things to rely on besides timber, which was in decline anyway. And so he became known as Trader Vic. He would go around the world and recruit companies to come here, not to just buy Oregon products, but to establish factories, to employ people. That's why the Silicon Forest in Hillsboro exists. There was already Tektronix, there was already Intel just starting up there, but Vic is the one who got Japanese companies and West German companies and all these people to come there and basically create the Silicon Forest.
And Intel that we just featured last week.
Exactly. Yeah. So he was there as Intel was beginning going up, and now we're looking out there saying, wow, is Intel going to make it?
Yeah.
So it's been, and that's a 50-year process, but he was there crucially at the beginning.
Wow. Do you see parallels to that time and today?
Yeah, what we just talked about. Oregon went from being basically a 1.5 industry state with timber to a 1.5 industry state, especially with high tech in all its forms. We need to have more places where our economy can grow, things we can do. And so we've also seen that the timber industry, when it left in the 1980s, because of that huge recession, rural Oregon, small town Oregon has never replaced that. And so that's an issue right now. Just think the Trump administration is just saying, we're going to reopen the forest so we can log at the levels we did in the 1960s. Why? Because of the people in those towns who've been hurting now for over 40 years.
The timber industry.
The timber industry.
Yeah. Well, Atiyeh is often remembered as Oregon's last Republican governor. But what else beyond party labels do you think is his legacy?
Well, clearly it's the grand transformation, but he was also the first governor to push things like strong civil rights legislation, hate crime legislation. So those kinds of things, which are still important around now. People debate them, how far they go, all those kinds of things. He was also a governor who was deeply involved with things that are kind of surprising. He was a Republican who cared about the environment, but only if he went fishing there. So big parts of the Deschutes River access because of work that Vic Atiyeh did. A crucial player in the Columbia Gorge National Scenic Area and putting that all together. He was also involved in issues dealing with not just timber, but the fishing industry and how it changed and things like that, but things that we all live with. So when I was doing the book, it eventually occurred to me, people still move to Oregon to live in Tom McCall, famous Tom McCall, who used to be at KGW. They used to move here to live in his state, the beach bill, bottle returns, that kind of thing. But they work in Vic Atiyeh's economy.
Let's talk about how he won elections in your mind when there were more Democrats than Republicans in Oregon.
Yeah, so he ran for governor in 74, 78, and 82. 74 and 78, Democrats outnumbered Republicans by 20%.
Wow.
Right now, it's 9%. Okay? In 1982, it went down to about 13%, but still, Democrats had a huge lead. He lost the 74 election, the only election he ever lost, but he won in 78, and he won overwhelmingly in 1982. It was interesting because he always said the way we win the elections, we get all the Republicans to turn out, but the math says that won't work. So what did he do? He was showing his competence. He'd worked in the business community for a long time, Atiyeh Brothers Carpets. But he got people to really pay attention to his business experience and what was going on, especially in that 1982 election, that horrible recession going on. He basically said, I'm the one who can help people figure out the changes that we need to make. The Democratic opponent, Ted Kulongoski, who later served 2 terms of his own, my Democratic opponent doesn't have that expertise. So it was expertise and the times of economic uncertainty. The economic uncertainty, kind of like what we're feeling right now, especially 1978. It's like the economy's going okay, but we don't feel it.
Yeah. So what have we seen since Atiyeh was governor that we've now seen almost 40 years of Democrats in Salem?
Yeah. So Vic is basically seen as the last of the moderate Republicans who won office. So before him was Tom McCall, before that was Mark Hatfield. So these moderate Republicans, as Vic is winning election in 78, and then what happens nationally? Ronald Reagan wins the presidency in 1980. The Republican Party begins to shift to the right. Vic never made that shift. In fact, he had a very public spat with the president in the 1982 election. Really fascinating. And governor and Republicans in Oregon primarily went to the right. And the electorate still has not gone with them to the right. If anything, it stayed centrist and maybe gone a little bit to the left as the Democrats have won time and time and time again.
We only have a little bit of time, so I want to ask you, do you think there is a place right now as we see the race for the Republican ticket heating up and crowding here that a Republican could win the governorcy?
It's really, really tough. And it's not just because Democrats outnumber Republicans, but the biggest single group is unaffiliated voters, and they're up for grabs. The other big thing is the governor's race in Oregon is always in an off year for the president, and the president's party always takes a big hit in those off-year elections. Donald Trump is the president. Republicans are going to take a hit.
Okay, and for our viewers who want to learn more about this book, it's a great accomplishment. How can they learn more and how can they get it?
Sure, so you can get it at the Oregon Historical Society bookstore. You can get it at the Oregon Capitol gift shop. You can buy it from Amazon. You can go to your own bookstore. You can say, I want to order it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Not a stranger, of course, to KGW, but we appreciate having you in as an author now today. Mr. Moore, thank you.
You're welcome.
And before we go tonight, I'd like to make a brief personal announcement. This is my last show as host of Straight Talk. It has been an honor to be in this seat and cover some of the most important topics to our community. I've learned so much on this show, and I hope you have too. Thank you so much for tuning in each week. Thank you for trusting me as I tried my best to ask the questions you at home would ask. We are better as a community when we are informed. And I hope we can continue to have important conversations like those here on Straight Talk. Thank you again for watching. Our wonderful Tim Gordon will take over as host starting next week. Have a great night and be well.